It's another wonderful day in the neighborhood. Welcome back to another edition of 15 Minutes of Flame. Oh, I got a bird right here. Hey, what's going on, birdie? It's on the old weight machine. I like doing these things outside. It's a lot more interesting than the old space in the old apartment. Now the bird is on my weight machine. The lat bar is moved over to my speaker. I'm trying to track the significance of the bird and where the bird is landing. Lat bar, speaker. Now now the little sucker's over trying to get some food out of the. Oh, aren't you clever? Aren't you a clever little fellow? I have a bird feeder that is broken, and I couldn't put it up on the tree, so I have it over here on a little side table, and the bird has found the bird feeder and is now pecking away at a little bird seed. Nature's so resourceful. Don't you just love nature? Good morning, everybody. Let's see, who do we have? We got Jennifer Fitzgerald, Joe Mama, Madam Joe. If I'm a Sir Phoenix, you're a Madam Joe. How's that? Which could be a little weird, depending upon the times that we're living in. But not, because I know you. 1-0 Dragon. There she is, Judy Anderson. There's a good friend, Fifth Wall, also known as Kestrel. There's Faith. Where's my man, Uncle Glenn? I see some Uncle Glenn in the house there. The lovely and talented Jonas. FOP 77, Tinfoil Tiara, Snake Jones. What's happening, Snake? Good to see you, Justice Moody. There's my man, Thor, by the door. Michelle Taylor. She's back. She's back. Did you ever go away? You were always there. You just decided to come back into the chat room. Raven Rain. How you doing up there in the nutty Pacific Northwest? Jay Widener was censored on Reality Check Sunday. Really? What's up with that? What do you mean by censored? Was the show taken down, or what happened? Can you give us some more details, WC Ray? There's more. There's my man, Uncle Glenn. Good to see you. Good morning, Teresa. I want to know. Maybe I should send Jay an email. What happened to him? That's it is what it is, man. I think Jay's probably got a kind of, I think at some level we all have expiration dates on this network. Laura D in the house. What's happening? Renee, good morning to you. I think Renee, you might have sent me an email and set up a reading. I'll be getting back to you today. Let's see what else. What else do we have here? Laurel Jubin. What's going on, Laurel? Good to see you. Anybody got any news on Jay? What happened? More, you watch Reality Check. Teresa Blackburn, what's going on? TB, good to see you. Coming off a fairly long Sunday night. I got a little geeky on Allen Ginsberg last night. I know a lot of people probably were like, what the hell is he talking about? But I got geeky on the whole Gemini thing with William F. Buckley. Thank you for indulging me. Victoria V, what's happening? Double V. Yes, Zapruder film. I mean, they've gotten that's such bullshit. I'm sorry. The Zapruder film is does anybody really own the Zapruder film? Can they actually claim that there is a copyright attached to the Zapruder film? I seriously doubt it. They do this all the time now. And I was watching Alex Jones last night, and even Alex Jones, when they go to and cut away to some video clip, you just get a still of Alex looking like a chipmunk on steroids, and then they play the actual video footage, but we don't get to see it because YouTube is doing everything it can to drop the hammer on copyright violations. So it'll be interesting because I played that whole bit last night with Allen Ginsberg, but that's PBS. That was on a PBS. So theoretically, we own that because we, as theoretical taxpayers, actually pay PBS money to broadcast their content. So there should be no copyright violation there. But if you're doing this now, you got to be really smart. You have to be really smart. You can't, if you want to keep a video up, you have to describe it. You have to use stills. You got to do something different in order to keep your content on your. Hey, Sherry, what's happening? Hi, Ani. Good to see you. Susie. So Sue, I was thinking about your name. You Susie Escobar. I was thinking you just combine Sue and C together and call yourself Susie, like soothsayer, right? Soothsayer, but soothsayer for sure would be Susie. Susie, good to see you, Sue. Welcome. PBS is state tool. Oh, of course it is. Like we've covered this before. PBS was the creation of the Johnson administration, the quote unquote war on poverty, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right? The Great Society. They needed a propaganda channel, and they got it with PBS, public broadcasting, anything really. But and who endows it? The Ford Foundation, endowed by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, all that shit, right? So they take our money, infuse it with the foundation dollars, and the foundation dollars really drive the program in PBS. Every now and then they let something slip through. You supposedly had a version I've never seen before that was mind blowing. I'd love to see that. Oh, I'll have to send Jay an email now. Definitely have to send him an email. What's going on, Chris and Steve? Missed you guys last night. I think I was running a little bit late for the Crimmies. The Crimmies are very busy as metaphysical innkeepers. That's what they are. They're metaphysical innkeepers. You think that their lovely little Airbnb space is just physical? No, it is an extension of their minds, right? So their wonderful little place that a number of you have visited and spent time at is a metaphysical inn as much as it is a physical inn. And there's a lot of work that goes. Susie. Yeah, Susie. I was thinking about that. Susie. Yep. We were there second half. Talk to Emily. Okay. All right. You are forgiven. You are forgiven. Especially since you have talked with Emily during that time. No, I'm just kidding. I'm glad you guys came along, but you are busy people too, and I look forward to seeing you again. Let's see. What else we have? ... So that's interesting because the first time I really spent a lot of time with the Zapruder film was at a Bill Cooper talk at, of all places, Evergreen College back in 1990. And I remember actually telling you guys about the Bill Cooper thing, and he had supposedly a highly enhanced version of the Zapruder film thanks to super advanced Japanese technology, which allowed them to go in and blow things up and really reveal who the true killer of JFK was. And of course, in Bill Cooper's mind, it was the driver. Right? It was the driver. There's some very interesting theories that the actual killer was Miss Bouvier. There's some very interesting theories about that. Very interesting theories about Miss Bouvier. But there are two things. When I say Miss Bouvier, I'm talking about Jackie Kennedy, who was raised by Louis Auchincloss, very, very rich, very wealthy man. Very wealthy man. So there's some interesting theories about that she was the one that actually did the, because if you look, there's weird angles and stuff with JFK's head. Anyway, I'll just leave that there. Nomadic Fanatic is a YTer, and the reason I'm doing the RV thing is graduate from Evergreen State College. Oh, yeah, Faith's getting her road trip on. Faith's putting the turtle shell on. It's the Faith in America tour, Faith Across America, the Faith tour. Now we want an RV. There are plenty of really interesting channels on YouTube about people taking strange vehicles and turning them into livable, movable structures. Some of my favorite are the box truck rebuilds. The box truck rebuilds are genius, man. They're total genius because you can have a box truck and you can be living inside a box truck and it looks like it's an actual vehicle that's being used for some utility purpose. It's so undercover. It is so stealth. Really, really stealth. Bless us, Father. And what can I do? I do my best here. Okay, what do we got? Anybody else? Going once, going twice. There's Lynn. Hard to stay up for your Sunday show. Regardless, I'm trying to try to do it early, but I run into yesterday. I'm sorry, I got sidetracked. I got into probably about a 90-minute or so phone call trying to deprogram somebody that probably was fruitless. I should really practice better discernment on that end. It caught me in the wrong time, though. It caught me in the Mercury-Mars square. What can I say? All right, let's get into this. Dear blessed and holy Father, Mother God, of the great central sun, which is the universal light, which is the light of Yeshua, Sananda, Emmanuel, we ask that only the highest and best truth come through this channel at this time, and that in our lives we are blessed and graced with the qualities of wisdom and strength, endurance, flexibility, humor, focus, discernment, love, commitment, and above almost all things today, divine guidance and intelligence. We ask that any karmic residue be clarified, purified, cleansed, and removed from this stream and from one another as we return to our experience as sovereign entities. So be it. All right. Feeling the higher energy today. Woohoo. All right. Want to take you high. I lived out of a van for about 3 months, and that was back in 1996. If we want to talk about van stories and travel stories. So back in 1996, I was living in San Francisco, and sort of the genesis of my van trip started when I was living with a gal, Barbara Imhoff, God rest her soul, beautiful person. And Barbara was incredibly talented woman. She was a kind of a polymath. She was really great with numbers. She was a fantastic writer. She was a harp player. How many people do you know play the harp? Okay, Barbara could play the harp. She was incredible with the harp. And she was in a couple of groups that were associated with me at that time, one of which was called the Beasts of Paradise. And that was a group with Stephen Kemp, my buddy. Some of you know who Stephen is. You've experienced Stephen's magic. So I went on a tour with the Beasts of Paradise using this van that I bought. It was a 1-ton van. It was a Dodge passenger van with all the seats removed except for the one area of seats right behind the driver's bench seat behind the driver's seat. So I could fit maybe, if I wanted to, certainly 5 people comfortably, 6 in a pinch, and then I had a whole back area where we could store gear and stuff. So I went on a little tour and eventually wound up actually living with Barbara for a while. And then she lived in the Mission District right on Alabama Street in a big kind of live-work space area, and which used to be an old kind of meat processing plant, okay, because you could tell this place was built for refrigeration. So one day, and I was doing a lot of tarot readings back then, of course. So one day they had the, what was it? Was it Cinco de Mayo? I think it might have been the Cinco de Mayo fair, or might have been Carnival, one of those events. So it was all around that area. And I looked down, and there was a lot going on down below. And I think it wasn't Valencia, but it might have been Potrero, I think. Anyway, they had the street blocked off. So I said, I'm going to go down there and I want to bring a chair and a table, my tarot cards. So I ran down there and I threw up my chair and I threw up my table, had a little tablecloth, threw up tarot cards, and I had a line of people 8 deep. I'm like, man, this is something. So I started to do tarot readings right there. And then I think I got about maybe 45 minutes in and somebody from the fair said, you got to get out. But the thing had happened. So it's like, Josh, that was really cool. That was a cool thing. I should go find a place where I could go read tarot cards. So I went down to Fisherman's Wharf, I think, the next day, and I started to scout around Fisherman's Wharf. And I found this one spot in front of this art gallery called Mamone Gallery. Great family, by the way, wonderful family. And for whatever reason, they let me read cards in front of their place. I talked to the young guy who's the son and the father, and I did readings for them both, and they were kind of open to it, So I was basically protected. I was protected because I'd set up a relationship with the business there. So my little table and chair were right there. I found places to park. I mean, I sort of like nailed this thing down after a couple of days. It didn't happen immediately. It took me about 2 or 3 days to kind of find a place and adapt. So that was in, I think, right around June. I think it was like late May, early June, right around there. And so I was going there quite a bit, and I was building up capital because, I wasn't paying rent. So everything that I was making, and I gave, it's not that I didn't contribute to the so-called household at the time, which I did, but I was actually able to save some money. So what I did is I was working up some financial and some sort of, how would we say, personal momentum, as it were. And then I decided that I wanted to leave because I was really restless. I was very restless. And so I had to go on this road trip. So I decided I was going to go to Atlanta and go to the Olympics because I thought, well, there's going to be a lot of people there and I could read tarot cards there at the Olympics. So I took off, and I think I left about, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 days before the Olympics actually started, if I'm not mistaken. And I took off, and I think I left with about, I don't know, $175, maybe $250. I didn't have a lot of money. It became very clear early on that I was going to have to work my way across the country to Atlanta in order to actually get there. So the first stop that I made was in Flagstaff, Arizona. In terms of the working situation, I had two scenes. One was at night, and I was working on the streets of Flagstaff, Arizona, and just me, my dog, and I table, and I had some candles, and that whole scene, and it was very cool because this Native American guy sat down and got a reading, and he was sort of like giving me shit at the beginning, but at the end of the reading, he was like giving me props, and he actually gave me a pair of pliers. He gave me a pair of pliers. He says, "This is you. This is for you." I still have the pair of pliers, by the way. This is you. This is for you. This is your tool, right? This is your tool. And he sang a medicine song over my car. It's like, man, I'm like 2 days into this thing. This shit's gonna get good. I think. I don't want to jinx it, but I'm like, wow, this is interesting. So then I did another reading, series of readings outside of a metaphysical bookstore, and it was really hot. Like it was blazing hot. But I got some readings, made some dough, paid them some money, and then I split and was on my way. I think I had a hotel room that night. It was one of the. I think I had a hotel room two times the entire time I was out, and both times it was in Arizona. One in Flagstaff on the way out, and then there was another hotel experience on the way back. Also in Arizona, kind of on the way to Tucson, where I was going to go visit a friend. So the next stop was New Mexico, and I went to New Mexico, and I went to Santa Fe, and then I was trying to figure out how to do this, and they have a street there, I believe, for all you New Mexicans, it's called is it San Francisco Street? I think it's San Francisco Street, and it runs sort of parallel with the square in Santa Fe. So there are a number of shops there in San Francisco Street. And what I witnessed was that there was, one of those Peruvian groups who used to be everywhere, right, playing that Peruvian music. Anyway, they would wait until the shops closed, and then they would go in and take over a shop front. I'm like, well, if they can do that, I could do that. So I did it right next to them. And I did it for that one night. I did it one night there. And I was incredibly successful that one night. And I think it was on a Saturday. And I remember I did a reading for a group of women who were kind of cruising around. And, and I didn't charge anything. Well, I did charge, but it was like whatever people wanted to pay me. That's what I would say. I would say, this is by donation only. So I left it up to them. I said, you pay as little as you want, you pay as much as you want. Suggested rate is, $5 to $10, but it's up to you. And almost always I got more than the suggested rate, which is an interesting kind of thing unto itself. And so I read for this group of women, and I said, I'll do the whole thing for $15, like 5 people, right? Because $15 you're on the road, that's a lot of money, especially back in 1996. And you're not paying any rent or anything, you're just paying for gas and maybe your insurance or whatever. So I thought, okay, I'll do that. And after I did the reading for all these women, she handed me something in my hand. And I just put it in my pocket. And at the end of the night, I went back to go count my money. So I went back to my van, and I looked in there. It was a $100 bill. I'm like, whoa! I know who it was. It was that woman. So it was like, okay, I'm getting really great feedback early in this journey. Really great feedback. So the next day, I went and I've got a space at the fair, not the fair, the flea market in Santa Fe, because somebody told me to get a space there. So I did. I got up early, and I drove there, and then I rented a pop-up from the people there, and I had a space and everything. And again, I did really well. And I'm like it was like really strong days. And I had this one reading. I'll never forget this reading. this guy and this woman come by. I think I've told this story before, so forgive me. I'm having a Pete Carroll moment. But so this guy comes along, and he's an older guy, and I think they were from Texas, and he had an older trophy wife. Okay, you could tell that when this woman. I mean, I thought she was still beautiful. Don't get me wrong, but you could tell, 20 years ago, like she was a hot commodity, and this guy, went all in, right? So he brings the trophy wife in and sits down, and I'm reading her cards, and I'm like, this motherfucker's cheating on her. He is cheating on her. I can see this in the cards. And I started to talk about it, and I started to talk around it. And you should have seen this guy. He was turning green. I swear to God. He was turning green. And I'm like, look at him. I go, are you okay? And I was trying to tell her. In code, right? I was trying to tell her in code. And she wasn't really picking up on the code. So the guy was like, he wasn't feeling good. He came in, and he was all like, he's going to pay for a reading, and let's see what the dude can do. And then he just starts to turn green, and I think, you okay? I think it might have been something I ate. He wanted to get the hell out of there before I spilled the beans and said, this motherfucker's having an affair on you, right? And so anyway, that was like a really strong weekend. Then I said, okay, I'm going to celebrate a little bit. So that was back in the days where I was eating burritos. So I went to a Mexican place, had a really great burrito, I had some beer, and then guess what I did? I think it was before that. The burrito and the beer came after. I went to 10,000 Waves before that. So I hung out at 10,000 Waves, had a great time, had my burrito and beer, and boom, right? So I did this basically for 3 months. And you could do it. You can live on the road if you want to. There are certainly codes of the road. And the codes of the road are, you got to be cool, right? You just got to be cool. You can't pop into an area and start like trying to, to be the man. You cannot do that. It is the code of the road. And I encountered this when I went to Taos, and I pulled into Taos, later, like towards the I don't know, second or third week of August. And I saw people that rolled into Taos thinking that they were going to just soak up the magic and kind of run things. People like me, people like who were on the road doing stuff. And I bonded with a guy. I forget his name. He was a Gemini, though. That much I remember. And he was an artist. He was a street artist. And we kind of got along. But he went into Taos thinking he was just going to like be the shit, right? And then Taos just leveled him. He had the same name as the Dylan character in Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid. That was his name. It wasn't his real name, but that was his name. Well, I just see him get leveled because he had hubris and he had pride. And there's certain areas where you don't do that. And Taos is one of those areas energetically. But you travel, you just don't go in, you just don't throw down. You don't do that. It's the code of the road. All right, so there you go. If you want to or can live in a movable vehicle, I actually recommend it. If you haven't done it, try it at least once in your life. And now you might even need to, right? You're probably in some ways safer with four wheels than none. All right, what do we have here? Let's see. Emily's in the house. What's going on, EM? Good to see you. Taos is awesome, but tough to make a living. Poor and dusty is real. Taos, to me, is one of the greatest examples of a segmented society because you have a group of people that are filthy fucking rich, and then you have another group of people who have, really have to eke out a living. Back then, people were building those tire houses. What do they call them? Earth ships. You go out to, the wasteland and you throw down a bunch of tires under the hot sun and make some money. It was hard work. Very hard. I did okay in Taos. I went into Taos, by the way, with no money. I had no money. I'd spent my last dollars on gas, and I had a few Trader Joe meals in my van. So I went in there with no money, which was a scary proposition in a lot of ways. You go into a town, you got no money. You got to figure out pretty quickly how you're going to survive. So my strategy was to always find a cafe. and set up shop in a cafe, and go in and respectfully ask the people who were running the cafe if I could do it. And I said, look, I'll cut you in. If I do some readings, I'll make some money. I'll give you some money. And 9 times out of 10, they were totally cool with it. I would say almost 10 times out of 10. So that's what I did. So my first day in Taos, that morning, after I woke up with my pockets empty, I think I walked out with about $35. And again, you're on the road, $35, you're not driving around. It's decent money. And so then it allowed me to kind of branch out and find some other venues, avenues, and resources in order to read tarot cards, which I did. I found a gallery there in Taos that allowed me to read cards there for about a week, maybe 10 days. The owner was batshit crazy. And I told this story before. She was a very nice person. Totally batshit crazy. She told me she had been abducted. She was an executive at Disney, and she'd been abducted and was held hostage by somebody who came into the office at gunpoint and removed her. She told me this story, and I was like, and I had no reason to not believe her. And she eventually negotiated her own release. How crazy is that shit? That I would wind up in this place with this woman who was very nice, by the way. But she was so crazy. She lost so much money because of a drought in Taos. I think it was 1996, and they got no skiers there that year. So it really crushed her business. And I don't think she could hold on. She bought an RV and left. I was like, why are you doing that? Just please stay here so I can continue to hang out here and read tarot cards at your gallery, because it's a very cool setup. But such is life, right? Such is life. All right, let's get into this. Strange shit happening, right? Strange shit happening. Now, I want to take you into this world of the contact tracers. But before I do that, because that's going to be a longer extended thing, right? COVID is crushing Taos. I know it's crushing Taos. It's not COVID. I can tell you that right now. It is the COVID merchants that are crushing Taos. It is the perpetrators of the mind virus that's crushed. Like, that is a city that is like so freaking liberal. And it's so liberal to the point where people that I know who are supposedly not liberal have actually moved and have left Taos because of that very same reason. All right, let's go. I want to get into a story now. And it has to do with Major League Baseball. And it has to do with this idea of synchromysticism. Like, we live in such a weird time. You just can't even make this shit up now. All right. So everybody in Major League Baseball has been told that they have to get on a knee. Here we go. Fox News. And there's a guy for the San Francisco Giants. And he has a right to stand. But his reason was, they're judging his reason. Okay. The media he has a right to stand, but his reason fell short. Well, why? Why? What does it matter? What does it fucking matter about his reason? I don't, it's like, you know what? I could take any idiot in almost any other situation and they could rationalize what they do. And I'm sure, quite frankly, if we spent more than 2 or 3 minutes looking at the rationalization, almost every rationalization would fall tragically short of any kind of common sense or rationality. So here we go. Giants pitcher. Now look at his name. Sam Coonrod. Okay. That's his name. What the hell is going on here? The one guy that doesn't kneel for Black Lives Matter, and his name is Coonrod. Like, either the universe has the most perverse sense of humor I've ever witnessed and is the greatest comedian ever, or this guy is in on it, and that they're paying him to actually stand because his last name happens to be Coonrod. And what are the odds of a guy named Coonrod would actually make it to the major leagues? Because right now, well, Steve probably knows this. What are the rosters at now, Steve? They have 50 or 60. It was essentially Major League Baseball just took a dump on minor league baseball, said it's over, you're done. And they wanted to do this for a long time now. They wanted to get rid of the whole minor league system. And this whole thing with coronavirus has given them a reason. Every player and coach from the Washington Nationals, isn't this interesting that the headlines here, right, are Nationals and Yankees. and they scheduled the very first game between the Nationals and the Yankees. Steve, you're a Yankee fan. When was the last time the Nationals and Yankees played each other on opening day? Like never. See that? See the team names? Nationals and Yankees. And they kneeled ahead of their game. Did they practice kneeling in the hotel? Was that what was going on? Did they have kneeling drills? Oh, looks like Jamal Adams has traded the Seahawks. Not that I follow this stupid fucking bullshit anymore. San Francisco Giants pitcher Sam Coonrod was the only player to stand during a moment honoring the Black Lives Matter movement ahead of the season against the Los Angeles Dodgers. Tell reporters after the game that as a Christian, you can't kneel before anything besides God. Why did that fall short? That's his reason. Why did it fall short? I'm going to read that. I want to read the critique. Oh, because God is so compassionate and omniscient and loving that really, if you kneel for Black Lives Matter, you're actually performing an act of God. Is that how they're going to spin this thing? I don't know, whatever. What is he, 65? Is that his number? He is wearing a mask, though. They're all wearing their nice orange and black masks. Oh, look, they're looking so pious. So pious. Aside from his religious beliefs, the 27-year-old relief pitcher said there are aspects of the movement he disagrees with. I just can't get on board with a couple of things I read about Black Lives Matter. How they lean towards Marxism, he continued. And they said some negative things about the equal family. I just can't get on board with that. Team manager Gabe Kapler, who kneeled during the ribbon ceremony as well during national anthem, said he respects Con Groot's decision to stand. I wonder what if Kapler ran the analytics on that. The one thing we said was we're going to let people express themselves, Kapler said. We're going to give them a choice on whether they were going to stand, kneel, or do something else. That was a personal decision for Sam. Dodgers outfielder Mookie Betts, who signed a 12-year, $360 million contract on Wednesday, and some of the Giants kneeled during some of the Giants, not all the Giants. Mookie Betts should have been on two knees for that contract, not just one. Several players during the National Yankees game wore T-shirts saying Black Lives Matter. Sam Coonrod, you can't make this shit up. You just can't make it up. So why does NBC Sports say that his reason fell short? Let's see what the great wisdom, the great oracular wisdom of NBC Sports. Who's the writer? I know Monty Poole. Monty Poole's been around the Bay Area for years. Monty Poole ought to thank his lucky fucking stars. Monty Poole is one of these guys that the media loves. Right, the media loves him. He's become sort of this sage figure in Bay Area sports. He can do no wrong. Monty Poole has always been on the politically correct side of things. Stepped in the sidelines, blah, 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 blah. He stood alone. Let's see, he did nothing wrong. He said plenty wrong. Offered him an explanation. Let's set off his tongue and drill me down his chest. I'm a Christian, he said. What did real Christianity opt out of humanity? When did real opt out of humanity? Give a pass to injustice and inequality. Decide that it's disrespectful to offer support, if not shelter, to those in need. Does Coonrod not realize that pastors of all faiths are joining crowds around the world, fighting for these very ideals? So what he's doing, and I knew I knew that this was the argument, that he was going to point out that just because so-called men of cloth decided that they were going to do this, perform this ritual of submission, that somehow now that this has become the definition of Christianity. It is disrespectful to offer support, if not shelter, to those in need. Where is the convoluted? Like where is Coonrod saying any of that? I just, what they do is they will take an idea and they will conflate it and they will inject it with philosophical hyperbole that somehow fits this overarching narrative that I want to shove this person into, right? Well, what if, I bet you somewhere that there are people of the faith and cloth who do not agree with the kneeling ritual on many levels and haven't done it, but you're not going to find them on YouTube taking a knee. So whose version of Christianity is a better version of Christianity, Mr. Poole? This is ridiculous. Like so many others swimming against the tide of progress. Coonrad pointed out that Black Lives Matter saying he can't get on board with some of his beliefs. Nothing wrong with that again. That, again, having such a choice is among the purpose of freedom. Oh, gee, thanks, Monty. But if Coonrad had taken a moment to inform himself, he'd see motive behind this movement need not be affiliated with BLM, rather to bring greater awareness to racial injustices. That is the focus, and that's horse shit. That is horse shit, Monty. Horse shit. Let me make this clear. Williams tweeted, who's Williams? You don't have to be on board with Black Lives Matter, but I do need to be on board with equality for all, ending racism. So then you say all lives matter, and then you get a tire iron in your fucking head. Sorry, there's my expletive speech. Didn't Monty Poole watch the interview between Don Lemon and Terry Crews, where Terry Crews points out that there are murder rates that are off the charts in black neighborhoods, black families in Chicago? And Don Lemon says, hey, man, that's not what Black Lives Matter is about. Black Lives Matter is about the injustice of the police. And here now, Monty Poole comes in and redefines the whole black, like this is a civil rights and social movement, and you better wrap your head around it. Because if you're not wrapping your head around it, you're just a liar, a hypocrite, and just a flat out bad Christian. Although it is your right to do that. Well, it is his right. And that's just like typical drivel, progress. This whole idea of progress. Again, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I'll sound like a broken record. I spent a lot of time this weekend watching the race debate from the 60s. If you have any time, watch the race debates from the 60s, where William F. Buckley has Huey Newton on his show. He's got Jesse Jackson on his show. He debates James Baldwin. He interviews Eldridge Cleaver. Okay, this was a hot topic, and it was being circulated and talked about. 1965 through 1970, 71, 72. Right, this dialogue has been going on for a while now. Progress. Okay. Well, how does Monty Poole define progress? The last time I checked, this country, and again, if you want to talk about economic equality, because that's how people like to parse this stuff out, that this country has more quote unquote black or so-called African-American millionaires than any other country on the planet. You may say it has to do with the population. I don't care. Do the numbers. In a country like France, who did not have racism, did not have slavery, you can't even become a millionaire in France because they'll take about 50% of your money. And then they get very, very hardcore about selling property and all this other shit. Doesn't matter if you're black. And I know people have moved out of France because they can't deal with the money system there. And that's a very liberal country. Very liberal country. Just do the math. Progress. Jesus, what do you want? Progress. And the whole idea has been built on three cases where I've gone through every single one of them, and all of them are highly suspect. That these are the examples. These three events are the examples of this explosion in our country. And so Monty Poole is willing to turn a blind eye to Alicia Garza, who basically comes out and says, we're going to destroy the fucking family. We're going to destroy the family. We want to burn America. That's part of you're just going to overlook that, right? You're just going to overlook that because somehow it has to fit into this overarching, wonderful narrative of everybody, singing Kumbaya. And if you don't get with it, right, you're going to be out of tune, and you're going to be singing, I'm working on the chain gang. Okay? This is bullshit. I'm sorry. This is the pushback. Monty, I hate it. I hate it when people are intellectually lazy and then they parse their arguments and they move them into this hyperbolic feeling space. It's bullshit. Bullshit. Oh, yeah. Well, Christians, people of faith are embracing this. The leaders of faith are embracing this. And because they're embracing it, so should you. You know what that is? You know what that is? That is the mindset of somebody who is in manacles, the mind-forged manacles, which is a phrase used by William Blake. The mind-forged manacles. Okay, so there's this guy, Bishop Gators. Watch him on Infowars. This guy's the shit, man. You got to check this guy out. He's really good. He's really, really good. And he did a whole segment on Kanye West and Harriet Tubman, the Rothschilds, the Prince Hall Masons, and the Boule sect, which rolls out of the Prince Hall Freemason group. And he's actually able to link Harriet Tubman to the Rothschilds and the Underground Railroad. So when Kanye is spitting this stuff, this guy comes in and backs it up. And his premises, which is a really, I think, brilliant one, was that as they were theoretically ending the physical role of slavery and theoretically emancipating them from that, they were moving them into a different kind of slavery, a mental kind of slavery. And the mental slavery, which would be related and connected to these various lodges. I watched this thing, and he was really good. If you want to get that broken down, go check him out. This is what we call the mind-forged manacles. That's exactly what he was talking about. That we have these moments in time where there's the potential for real liberation. And guess what? The gatekeepers they're there, right? The Judas goats are there, and they just move you right along to the new place. And there was also a brain drain, apparently, that Harriet Tubman was going into the South and getting the best and the brightest of people that were in the slavery situation and bringing them north so that the North could avail themselves not only of their talents and skills, but what they knew of the land. They were bringing what you would call surveyors up, right? They wanted to understand the lay of the land in ways that they couldn't or did not know because they had boots on the ground and eyes on the horizon. So, Monty Poole, why don't you watch little Bishop Gators? But these people won't do that. They won't do that because they're just going to want reality to conform to their feeling. I'm not even going to call it a belief system, a feeling system. That's what it is. It's a feeling system. Didn't Bob Marley sing something about mental slavery? Yeah, Bob Marley was killed, by the way. He was killed. Just read the story about his cancer with his foot. Marley was an Aquarian. And, I like Marley's music. It was good music. It was good music. The Haile Selassie thing, I can't really get behind, though. Because once you get into Rastafarianism, it's like Haile Selassie is like a really big deal, supposedly descended from David. And from what I could tell, Haile Selassie was connected with MI6 and, he went to, he was connected to Oxford. There was a period of time where he had to leave Ethiopia and he was embraced by all the British intellectual elite. And all. I mean, I'm not down with the Haile Selassie thing. By the way, they tore his statue down in London, if I'm not mistaken. So that whole thing, that Selassie is the prophet and the Lion of Judah. And I don't know. I can't go there. But I did like Bob Marley. And he was one of these people that was, he was somebody who was kind of a rallying point, right? Look at the stories around Bob Marley, cancer, his toe, the injection of the cancer cells into his foot. It's a deep, dark rabbit hole. If you want to go down there. Timothy White wrote a book, I think it's called Catch a Fire with Bob Marley. And there's a scene in the book where Marley is performing live at a concert in Africa and shit is going crazy. Like Marley's like, it's a WTF for Marley. And this is not the world that he thought that he wanted to be in. This stuff happens sometimes with black artists, by the way. It happened with Jimi Hendrix. And Jimi Hendrix spent a lot of time in Harlem. He was living in Harlem because it was the only place he could afford to live. And he played at the Apollo Theater, and that's where the Isley Brothers discovered him, was in Harlem. And after Jimmy got really, really famous, right, he kicked out Mitch Mitchell, and he kicked out Noel, what's his name, Noel Redding, the bass player, because he wanted an all-black band. So he had Billy Cox, who was an army buddy of Jimmy's, and Buddy Miles. I met Buddy Miles one night. That was weird. And then this guy, Juma Sultan, who was a percussion player, was Band of Gypsies. And Band of Gypsies actually played part of Band of Gypsies. I think Mitch Mitchell sat in for Buddy Miles at Woodstock when Jimmy played there. But apparently when the Band of Gypsies was together, they were phenomenal. So Jimmy wanted to perform in Harlem because that's really where he got a start in the music business, was Harlem. So after he formed the Band of Gypsies, Jimmy's head was sort of evolving into this idea of black consciousness, right? He does a concert in Harlem and they boo the shit out of him and they throw rocks and stuff at him. And the same thing happened to Bob Marley in Africa. Not that they were throwing rocks at him, but he saw this idea of repatriation, going back to the motherland. He goes there and he plays this big concert, this outdoor concert, and people are just, losing their fucking minds, and not because the music's great. This is a very sad thing, actually, that when these artists who decide that they're going to go into an environment and say, okay, like, these are my people, and they go in and all of a sudden it's like, well, we're not digging your music, or this is not the scene that you thought it was going to be. It's very interesting. It brings us to the sort of the city limits of the human experience in a lot of ways. And I would say probably incredibly disillusioning. I wouldn't be surprised it just like knocked the stuffing out of Jimi Hendrix. He was a very sensitive guy, by the way, super sensitive. Anyway, I went down a little bit of an alley there. I just think the whole thing is ridiculous. I think Major League Baseball playing in front of cardboard cutouts, pumping in crowd noise, taking knees, using face masks. I think the whole thing is absolute and utter horseshit. Just like everything with professional sports is horseshit. If you haven't seen the Vernon Coleman video, I highly recommend it. I'm not going to play it here. I'll leave a link to it. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. Go watch the Vernon Coleman video. It shows you the paradox and the irony of the times that we're living in right now. This is a beautiful, thoughtful, soulful man. I really enjoyed his video. I'll leave the link. Yeah, it's like, we can't get together and we can't do certain things. You can't go to a church and sing, but you can go in the NBA, go play in the bubble in where is it, Orlando, and the bubble. Lou Williams, who's a pretty good basketball player, went to a strip club. He got out of the bubble and he went to a strip club. Guess what? He got punished. Lou Williams got put in timeout by the NBA. You can't go to the strip. They're just, they can bring the strip club to the bubble. I'm sure they could do that. I'm sure Adam Silver would bend over as hard as he could in order to placate the players and their very complex set of needs. I have no doubt that would happen. All right, I want to get into something else. I want to make a shift here. NHL resuming this week. They are on total lockdown for the duration. Yeah, it's the same orders, the same commands. Everybody is just lockstep. And Laura, I know a little bit about the situation, and you and I can talk about that offline. So my worst experience of racism as a black woman were from black people when in Africa. That's a very interesting dynamic, Emerald V. That is a very interesting dynamic. And, we could probably devote a show to that in some ways. Very interesting dynamic. Let's see. Maury's got something interesting to say. What does he say? Bill Oxley, 79-year-old Bill Oxley, was ex-agent of American Central Television. Yeah, see? Yeah. Basically, Marley got injected in his foot by a heavy-duty pathogen, which metastasized with cancer. Now, here's the deal. Like, Marley was surrounded by what they call obeas. And these obeas they're like the Jamaican version of a shaman. And they kept, and Marley could have got this thing treated, by the way. And like they could have just cut off his fucking toe. But the Obeas were like, no, 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 don't do that. Don't do that, Bob. Don't do that. You go and, you take the herb, man. You take the herb. So he was actually not only assassinated by the CIA, but he was also in many ways betrayed by his own people, whether or not they believed that to be true. And most of us would say, well, those are their naturopaths, or they're into natural cures. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. In this case, Bob Marley should have probably did what Horace Greeley said, go west, young man, and just dealt with that thing. But that didn't happen. And so the cancer wound up spreading. And of course, we have the death of Bob Marley. And not only the death of Bob Marley, but also the death of Peter Tosh, which is even more wild. Like Peter Tosh was murdered in a hail of bullets, man. And Peter Tosh was really looking like he was going to become the new voice of Jamaica. He was doing the songs with Mick Jagger, right? The duo with Mick Jagger, Legalize It, Step and Razor. Like Peter Tosh was a cool artist. And he gets gunned down. Blaze of bullets. What a world, huh? What a world we live in. It's going to change, hopefully. Hopefully we're going to get to that high water mark, and then we flip this script. But it's not going to be pretty. I'm telling you that right now. All right, let me get into this next thing. This is like the next bizarre thing. I'm going to go through this, and then I'm probably going to transition out and try to get some work done today. So here in Texas, they had they had a big deal where they hired a company to perform contact tracing. Now, I had never heard of this company before, and guess what? Neither had a lot of people. It was like, out of the blue, where did this company come from? How did they get $295 million? And, oh, by the way, they got $40 million from New York. So this is just so bizarre. I'm going to show you the company, and then I'm going to show you the head of the company, which is just a total head scratcher. So let's check this out. So this is the company that is supposedly going to be the company that will track contact tracing. So for those of you that don't know where Frisco is, it is just outside of Dallas, one of the fastest growing areas in Texas, which makes it one of the fastest growing areas in the United States. And there's a high degree of migration. When I say migration, I'm not talking about Joe Rogan moving to Texas, which he is, by the way. I'm not talking about Del Bigtree moving to Texas, which he did, by the way. I'm talking about migration from other countries. So Frisco has been targeted as a community of diversity. As you shall soon see, the MTX group tied with another bidder, but won with its lower cost proposal. I'd like to know who the other bidder was. So here's the headline. A small Frisco company narrowly bested a consulting behemoth with a $295 million contract to coordinate state coronavirus contact tracing efforts. Newly released documents show ultimately Accenture and MTX group tied in the scoring process with 87 points each. Like, who does the scoring process? I want to know. I want to know who does the scoring process. I want to know how it's done. I want to know who does it. Is it like the Miss Universe pageant? Right? Do the CEOs have to come up and wear thongs before everybody? Do they have to tell them what their lifelong dream was as a child? How is the scoring process actually done? The state went with MTX Group due to its cost proposal, which is $15 million lower. Okay, so let's just be clear here. $15 million is jack shit. It's a virtue signal, if anything. It's a virtue signal, if anything. That's what it is. $15 million is nothing. Especially if you're going to pay $15 million more, then you're going to go with a company who actually has a real company. $15 million for the safety, theoretical safety of the citizens of Texas, it'd be a drop in the bucket. As somebody who actually lives here and pays property taxes through his rent, theoretically, I would say, hey, look, if this company is going to be a better company, $15 million, go ahead and spend that shit. But that's a different argument, okay? All right, Texas lawmakers have questioned why the hastily awarded contract went to the relatively unknown MTX Group over major government contractors, including Accenture, IBM, and AT&T. The job is critical to the state's plan to contain COVID-19, which has surged to record levels in Texas. Oh, yes. Contact tracers track down people who may be infected with virus, urge them to stay quarantined, yada, 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 yada. The company, led by a chief executive officer with lofty plans to buy the Dallas Cowboys, received the highest marks on its technical prowess, ramp-up timeline, and ability to integrate multiple workforces. Officials noted MTX Group has past health department experience outside of Texas, launched a call center in New York City. Now that's a fucking achievement, isn't it? Launching a call center in New York City. Damn, I wish I could do something like that. This is how now we have defined progress and success in the 21st century, fourth industrial revolution. You know what that's like? That's like getting a participation trophy. Oh, they launched a call center in New York City. Jeez, what an amazing feat. But we're pleased with the company's promise to go live within 7 to 10 days. So this guy, okay, and there's a guy, by the way. I'm going to show you the guy. This guy walks in and says, we're going to get this thing up and running 7 to 10 days. Boom, we're ready to go. Oh, okay. Officials noted, blah, blah, blah. We got a past project in Kentucky for the state's Department of Alcohol and Beverage Control apparently ran over budget, record show. But officials in New Mexico said they turned to MTX Group for software to manage coronavirus contact tracing after the company did a satisfactory job. A satisfactory job. There's a word that's like a participation trophy. They did a satisfactory job. Would you like somebody to do a satisfactory job on your brakes? Would you like that? They did a satisfactory job. No, you want somebody to do a great job on your brakes, not a satisfactory. Satisfactory now, I guess, is it is the gold standard for excellence, right? You did a satisfactory job. Give me a break. The Texas scoring documents were released to the Dallas Morning News 6 weeks after the contract was awarded. Only 7 companies qualified for scoring, state officials have said. Their cost estimates range from $111 to nearly $1 billion, with MTX's group coming in higher than 2 other competitors. Maximus, there's a company. Now there's a company, Maximus, which has done a lot of work for the Texas Health and Human Services Commission, came in 3rd with 63 points. The other contenders were NTT Data Inc., Health Services Inc., IBM, AT&T, Performance Technologies LLC. On Monday, a spokesman for the state said MTX is meeting the state contract requirements. We are working well with them, said Chris Van Duzen, a spokesman for the Texas Department of State Health Services. By the end of May, MTX had hired 605 people, set up a virtual call center. I guess they're good at these call centers. The guy's from India. Like, he's got connections with India, where the call center has become the new temple. Das Nobel. Look at that name. Das Nobel declined to tell the news last month how much they're being paid or named some contractors involved in the effort. Van Duzen said MTX still has 605 employees, blah, 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 blah. A lawsuit by a conservative Houston businessman is seeking to stop the state's coronavirus contact tracing efforts, which the suit likens to improper surveillance. Have fun with that. Have fun with getting into the courts. So look at this name, Das Nobel. The name sounds a lot like a guru. Das Nobel. Ram Das. Right. Das, fill in the blank. Babahari Das, Krishna Das, Das Noble. So we have this moniker that sounds very spiritual, very guru-like, and then we have Noble, which sounds very enlightened, doesn't it? Noble. He's noble. Das Noble, Nobel Prize. Well, people have actually gone to the physical location of MTX, and there's nothing there. There's no office. There's no physical office anywhere in Frisco, Texas, connected to this thing. All right. So who is Das Noble, which is in the title of today's show? And I've dived in, and I still can't figure out who the fuck this guy is. Okay. Well, I'll just give you a brief look into Das Noble. So this is Das Noble. He's always wearing the red tie. He's always wearing this red tie. Now, here he's wearing the red bow tie. Isn't there like some kind of connection with this red stuff and the red shoes and all this other shit? Isn't that a tell in some ways, possibly? There are people in chat who know a lot more about these sort of connections than I do, although I could probably be quite conversant in them if I wanted to. But, isn't there, what is up with the red tie? Oh, geez. The red tie. And this also looks very much like the Nation of Islam. Now, I don't think this guy is Islamic, but this is one of the symbols. You never see Farrakhan without a bow tie, and it's usually red. This whole Noble thing is quite bizarre. Quite bizarre. Das Noble. And you go around and you look and you try to find information about this character, and you really can't find anything. Although apparently they have the Nobel Foundation. What's this? Keynote speaker, Das Noble, founder and CEO of MTX Group. What does it say? Integrated into the. Here we go. Let's read this damn thing. Let's pull it up. Okay, so he's at the 2025 Billion Vision at the Leadership Summit. We are absolutely thrilled. Das Noble, founder, let me keep reading here. Founder, what is he here? All right. Founder and CEO of MTX Group, migrated to the U.S. at the age of 15. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, he originates from Bangladesh. In addition to being a tech powerhouse, Das is a motivational speaker. The young entrepreneur is on an incredible mission to build a culture-focused organization. A strong believer of building business through client relations, Das founded MTX as a global implementation partner to help organizations become a fit enterprise by migrating to cloud technologies. In a constant effort to embrace the latest and best, Das later invested in building Maverick, MTX's very own artificial intelligence platform. There's your dude. There's your Das Nobel. Now, if you look at MTX, one of the key players in MTX, it happens to be this woman. That's his wife, Nipa. So essentially, the two people that run MTX are these two, Das and Nipa. And she shows up quite a bit, but there's very little here. So here he gets $46 million from New York City. Okay. He gets $46 million from New York City. And he's got 295. So the guy is starting to amass a bit of a fortune here. The city has awarded an emergency no bid contract. Look at that. No bid. He got this contract without a bid. $46 million. The Department of Information Technology Telecommunications clinched a deal with the MTX Group, a growing startup who's founder and CEO, Das Nobel, boasts he wants to buy. So this guy's biggest fucking claim to fame, that he wants to own the Dallas Cowboys. Oh, gee, isn't that edgy? Isn't that edgy? Isn't that edgy? He wants to own the Dallas Cowboys. That's Jerry Jones's team. That's America's team. Isn't Jerry Jones white? Wow. How audacious. How bold. What a vision. This is what passes for vision. It's ridiculous. This is what passes now for Maverick. Yeah, I'm a guy that came here. I was 15 years old from Bangladesh, and my goal, my dream, is to own the Dallas Cowboys. How audacious! So he lists a modest home in Slingerlands near Albany as his business address, but he has moved to a mansion. He's got that McMansion in Frisco now. He's living good now. MTX, which pays the well-connected law firm Greenberg Traurig for lobbying. Ooh, here we go now. Has had some trouble in other states, including a cost overrun scandal in Kentucky. Nobel also faces allegations in federal court in New York that he failed to pay owed commissions. By the way, he completely lied about his CV. His qualifications are fraudulent, and that's come out. An MTX spokeswoman did not address the controversies. In the statement to the Post, Chief Financial Officer Christina Bailey said the company has demonstrated a successful track record on public sector projects around the country, like having a very satisfactory job, done a satisfactory job in the state of New Mexico. It reminds me of those commercials for AT&T and 5G, where you're going to get an operation. You ask the doctor, how his operations in the past have gone. They were satisfactory. I met the reasonable standards. There are some people that died. Some people lived. Satisfactory is just slightly above average, by the way. It's like C+. State of New Mexico is being kind when they said satisfactory. So why does this guy get all this cash? Why has he been elevated to Nobel status? Why? That's the question mark. Why? Are they basically funneling money? Are they funneling money here? Is MTX really just a front? And I looked at them, and they've got their offices in Singapore, Hyderabad, so they outsource everything, right? Basically, MTX is a call center on steroids that has figured out how to plug machine learning into their call center system. That is his brilliant model. He takes off-the-shelf AI, machine learning technology, which he licenses, by the way. It's not even his own technology. He didn't sit down and write the fucking code. I guarantee you that right now. He's too busy being a motivational speaker. He's too busy being elevated as some kind of avatar, right? He didn't write any of the code. When do people have time? All these people run around and have all these qualifications and all their kind of enlightening contacts and all their talks. When the fuck do they have any actual time to do any work at all? The answer to that question is they don't. They don't. So is this a money laundering scheme? Is this what's going on here? Because he's got no office in Frisco, Texas. People have been there. Like, he's got call centers and he's got cloud technology. The whole thing is just so bizarre. Now, there's part of me that thinks, okay, now, if they really wanted to put kind of a monkey wrench in the contact tracing thing, you would hire a company that can't do it. You would hire a company that would promise everything and actually deliver nothing. So maybe this is a real stroke of genius by Greg Abbott. Somehow I don't think so, though. I think he's much more invested in actually doing the thing than not doing the thing. But it's very hard to find real information on Dastiger Das Nobel. You can't find it. Very hard. And I spent quite a bit last night after the show trying to go down that rabbit hole and find connections with this guy. But he's always presented as some kind of avatar. He's a motivational speaker. He's a health coach. He's a food guru. You know, all these things, right? Really what he is he's a call center pimp. That's all he is. He's a call center pimp who was born in Bangladesh, is cashing in on the American dream because he's probably got some very strong connections with a law firm that has strong connections with other people, that have strong connections with other groups who want to have their interests represented. He's just a front man. That's all he is. He's just a front man. You may as well just make a cardboard cutout of him and put him in the crowd at Candlestick Park or AT&T Stadium, whatever the fuck they're calling where the Giants play these days. That's all he is. He's a cutout. And his wife is a cutout. And the thing about, and I've gotten into this before a little bit, and by the way, I hope this doesn't come off sounding xenophobic, but with the Indian culture, there's this undercurrent of being a guru, right? Being a guru, that this is a special group. And he's not even Indian, he's Bangladeshi, but that's another discussion in and of itself. But there's this undercurrent, right? That, you know, these people just, you know, it's the magic. It's the magic Indian in the turban, right? The magic Indian. Sai Baba. Ooh, look at that. Ooh, look at that. Ooh, look at that, right? And so this idea extends into the world of business. And I've met a number of Indian people, had great discussions with them. A lot of them are very fine people. I'm not here. Right, I'm not here. This is, by the way, it's a culture that does integrate. They don't. The interesting thing about the Indian culture is they don't really compartmentalize. They're very integrative. They want to be a part of society. And I've seen this in almost every instance that I've connected with them. And God bless them for that. God bless them for that. We had my son played baseball with a boy who was he was Pakistani, which, yeah, hey, it's not India, but, you know, splitting hairs. Pakistani, and his father owned a bunch of Church's Fried Chickens. Nice guy, super nice guy. Played on the baseball team with us. Anyway, it's a group that generally tends to integrate and not isolate. And I'm making a kind of a large assumption here, but that's what I do sometimes. But there's this idea that somebody comes from a certain part of the world and they're just going to sprinkle magic dust on something. And poof, we have a solution. Poof, we have a solution. And maybe that's what's going on here, but he feels like a cutout. He feels like somebody who's being moved forward. Remember, the shit does not happen in a vacuum. These people are chosen. They're brought out for a specific and particular reason. He's got a very powerful law firm behind him, really securing and negotiating these contracts. He's not doing shit. He's showing up in a nice red tie and talking about the future of cloud consciousness, which is really what he's pushing. All right. What do we have here? To a point, until a wealthy son, blah, blah, blah. The caste system, just like here in America. Society, you mean Babylon? Yeah, I guess, whatever. You know, I mean, I'm just talking about, a baseball situation and kids and families getting together, okay? I'm just talking about that. That's all I'm talking about. You know, that's been my experience. Let's see. What does Kurt say? Kurt has good comments. He seems like a secret society lacking pushing AI. I agree with you, Kurt. Let me put that comment up there. Oh, that's Paulette. Oh, Paul's got military insurer TRICARE admitted that it wrongly told more than 600,000 U.S. military members that they had the virus. Yep. I want Kurt's comment. It shifted. It's a rapidly moving tide here in Chatlandia. He seems like a secret society lackey pushing AI. I bet we'll be seeing a lot more of in the near future. I totally agree with you. He's a front man. That's exactly what he is. What does Joe say? Funny, this topic comes up since my son and I just watched the first season of India Matchmaker a few days ago. That's funny. Let's see. Well, Hucklebuck usually has some pretty good comments. Young American women Should watch out for young Indian men. They have an arranged wife waiting for them back home. Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. Tondar says, sounds like the same scam as Sundar Pikachu. Sundar Pikachu is the guy that basically ran AOC. He runs AOC. That's who Sundar Pikachu is. He runs AOC. And he was another guy that came into the AI Silicon Valley world, got pumped up very, very quickly with a lot of cash, with a lot of seed money, and created like a relatively fake business, flipped it, sold it, and got vested, right? Silicon Valley is a total scam. It's a total scam. I used to work there. Total scam. What else we have here? How do I here? Let's get rid of this. How do I get rid of this? I don't know how to get rid of it now. I'll figure it out. Anyway, I worked in Silicon Valley, and the way the whole Silicon Valley thing back in the early days was here's how it worked. And I've gone over this before. I'm going to put this up here. Laurel says, suddenly I have a craving for chicken tikka and samosa. It's not so subliminal programming. Not so subliminal programming. Did Das Nobel curry favor? It kind of gives that phrase a whole different slant now, doesn't it? To curry favor. You guys know the phrase, right? To curry favor. It's the Yahoo model. Bang. Right there. It's the Yahoo model. Yep. Jerry Yang went to my high school. Long time after I did. Long time after. Garlic naan and lamb sag. Yums. There we go. Their food is fantastic. I find Indian food to be quite good, but not good for me. Not good for my stomach. It's too spicy and rich. When I used to work at San Francisco Magazine, we had a trade account with this restaurant. What was it called? Bombay. It was right there in Ghirardelli Square. We used to go to this restaurant all the time for lunch. Gaylords of Bombay, I think. I think that was the name of the restaurant, Gaylords of Bombay. So we'd have a trade account. We'd go there all the time for lunch. And I remember Fridays just piling on the Indian food with a few beers, and I was wrecked. I was wrecked for like the next 24 hours. It was not good. I'd come back to the office. I was useless. It was like I should have just Maharaja chicken and mango chutney. Right. This is what Anna says. Anna says people can be bought and think that they made it. Front men seem to be a prime example. As quickly as they're bought, they can be discarded. Hummus totally messed me up. Yeah, hummus is from the chickpea, which is a lectin. And as many of you know, or you should know, lectins should be avoided at all costs, especially if you have the O blood type. Okay. What I love from India is that YouTube clip of the midget popping and locking. So awesome. There you go. Go find the midget popping and locking. Interesting. Okay, the whole scam in Silicon Valley went like this. You'd have to have an idea, and it could be just a totally half-baked idea, which many of them were, circa 1998. And then you would get funding for that idea. So the VCs would come in, and the VCs would throw down funding, and then there would be a push to get onto the NASDAQ. Okay, they wouldn't let these stocks on the New York Stock Exchange. They had to go to the NASDAQ, which is the ghetto. The stock ghetto. So they get on NASDAQ and they start to get publicly traded. So what would happen is that you would have people like Bear Stearns, Solomon Brothers, they would come in and they would do the arbitrages. So if you got funding, you had to essentially use all of your VC seed money within 1 year. That was the deal, 1 year. And if you didn't use it, it'd go away. And so it wouldn't allow people to actually build a business in 1 year. So what would happen is that a lot of businesses would go out and buy other businesses. And I worked for one of those businesses. They used their seed money to say, okay, we're going to get a pre-existing business, which they did with a company called rollingstone.com, which the company I worked for bought. And there were a few others, right? So that was a strategy. It was a strategy. You couldn't hold on to your money and organically grow your business. You were put into a hothouse for a year. And so you had businesses, spending, $1,000 on an Aeron chair and getting 100 of these for their offices, or flying in people like Paul Oakenfold to DJ at their product launch party, which was a shit product to begin with. So who would make the money? It would be the people that would set up the arbitrages and the people that were inside where they started the actual companies. Because those people would backlist or backdate their stocks, which I saw, by the way, firsthand. So if you were somebody like, say, Salomon Brothers or Bear Stearns or Goldman Sachs or whoever sets up the arbitrage, part of your thing is that you would get a fee. You'd be paid a fee, an actual physical fee. Then you would also get shares. You get founder shares at about a penny a share. And then once the stock went public, there were absolutely zero contractual agreements that you could not sell that stock. So once the stock took off like a skyrocket, we'll use mp3.com as an example. The company that set up the arbitrage, mp3.com, made out like freaking bandits. And this was the pump and dump model of Silicon Valley circa late 90s. And it was all happening on the NASDAQ. And then these companies had no time to get second or third round funding because Alan Greenspan kept raising the interest rates. So as he raised the interest rates, they couldn't secure more money to keep their businesses going. What happens? There's a fire in the building. You can't get out. A bunch of people lost their shirts, and the whole .com thing just went down in flames, theoretically, right? But what happened was there were a lot of companies who had valuable assets. Some people actually had ideas. And those companies were bought by other companies, again, for pennies on the dollar. And who were the people that wound up being the casualties of the people who invested in the companies, the people that worked there? I was there. I saw it firsthand. I was in .com land at that point in time. So this is the .com model. They use the VC model. Sundar Pikachu, right? Is this Sundar Pichai? Is that his name? I know it's Pikachu. It's Pinch. I think it's Pichai. And this guy, no, it's the same deal, man. It's a pump and dump. They're going to pump this company, right? Just wait for MTX to be publicly traded at some point, if they can make it past the regulations. Although today now it doesn't really matter. There's no oversight. It's a total pump and dump scheme. But why did Abbott choose this guy? Why did he choose this guy? I think the answer is in the law firm. And maybe I'll look at that tomorrow. All right, me out of here. Faye says, I put cucumber and celery in chicken salad. In farro salad, if you want protein, but vegan. We'll have to try adding cucumber to chicken salad. By the way, I hate cucumbers. I hate cucumbers. And I've tried. The only time I like cucumbers is when they're pickled or they're cut very thin in a piece of sushi. I'm okay with that. It's the Virgo in me. The big, thick piece of cucumber, it's like it's getting in the way of the sushi. See, I think cucumber is invasive. Like cucumber is one of those things that's not neutral. A piece of celery, that's neutral. That is a neutral food. You get a piece of celery touching something else, that's not going to taste like celery. It's neutral. A carrot is neutral. A beet, you might get the color of a beet, but you're not really going to get the flavor of the beet per se. Cucumber is a whole different thing. Cucumber is invasive. If you're going to have a cucumber in something, you're having the cucumber, and then whatever else is the cucumber winds up being the main event, and everything else just kind of conforms to the cucumber. And I've tried. I just don't like the taste of a cucumber either. For all you cucumber lovers out there, God bless you. I'll tell you another thing. I don't like watermelon either. And I tried watermelon, and they're kind of related. I don't like water. I tried the watermelon thing. It's like, whoa, what is this? And I don't even have mind working for seeds or whatever. And watermelon's kind of invasive. It's one of those invasive things. You get a fruit salad, right? That watermelon is going to start to invade the fruit salad. This, watermelon and cucumber are like the kudzu of the fruit and vegetable world. Absolutely. Cucumbers, moose seeds, peel. I'm not a cucumber fan. You guys have your cucumbers, man. Have your cucumbers. They give indigestion. I agree. I don't like the skin on cucumbers. It's bitter. I've never tried farro. It is like quinoa. I agree about the cucumber. I peel the skin and take out the seeds. It is bitter to me. I let it drain for a while too. No tzatziki's for you. Hell no, man. Although I do like yogurt. You can freeze cukes and add them to smoothies. You can. I won't. Not at all. Do I use mayo? Let's see what we have. Good with vinegar or vodka. Watermelon should be eaten alone. Great for the kidney. Yes, eat watermelon alone. Don't eat it with me because I don't eat watermelon. Feel free to eat watermelon by yourself. I'm just messing with you, Lynn. Which is funny because my father loved watermelon and my kid loves watermelon. That's not to say that I don't enjoy a good melon. I prefer the cantaloupe or the honeydew for an indigo melon. Let's see. For me, the best manifestation of a cucumber is a pickle. And then for me, all of a sudden, me and the former cucumber are friends. That's right. We're friends. And by the way, I found a really good pickle. Great pickle company here in Texas. Bob's Red Mill has organic farro. Isn't farro like a grain? Isn't it like a lectin gluten thing? No lectins, no gluten. You want to change your life? Drop the lectins, drop the gluten, drop the sugar, drop the alcohol, and I guarantee you, drop dairy, your life will change. A lot of your maladies will go away. They did for me. Because I was having issues, man. First thing I dropped was the lectins. I got rid of all the lectin shit. Potatoes, tomatoes, and I had really bad back problems for quite a while, and a lot of inflammation. And I was going to see a chiropractor. And after I stopped eating lectins, a lot of my back stuff went away. And I walked into the chiropractor and said, "Hey, guess what? I don't need to see you anymore." Why? Well, I stopped eating lectins. I read Stephen Gundry. You and I, it was great. You're a nice guy, but I don't have to pay you $85 3 times a week. Same thing happened with me with gluten. I had TMJ most of my life. I stopped eating gluten and miraculously the TMJ goes away. And by the way, I've corroborated with this with a dentist/orthodontist in Buffalo, New York, who has discovered the exact same thing. I removed the gluten, see a TMJ. I removed the lectins, see inflammation. Pretty simple. I remove the sugar, right? See a fat. Adios fat, right? All the extra baggage. You guys have seen videos of me like 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I look like Louis Anderson. So it's more about addition by subtraction. It's not for everybody. It's not for everybody, but it was for me. All right. All right, I'm out of here. Let's see. Anything else? I can't give up dairy. But butter, I eat butter. Butter's a whole different thing. I invest in butter. I invest in that grass-fed butter, and I put it in this. Butter's good for you. Butter's good for your head, right? Dairy, look, I don't eat ice cream. Drop that. I don't drink milk. I drink almond milk, which is theoretically an oxalate, right? It's another whole discussion. But no, I eat cheese. I do eat cheese. I allow myself some cheese, and I allow myself the most white trash cheese, not Velveeta, but I do eat American cheese, but good American cheese. I eat eggs. I think eggs are great. I use the Kerrygold butter. Absolutely. Potatoes. I know. I eat potatoes. It was great. It was totally great because I would go out and I would think, okay, let me get a burger, cheese, no bun. I'm gonna have those fries, and I realized those fries are fucking me up. They're fucking me up. Bye bye fries. Bye bye fries. And it's kind of cool, right? Because you begin to practice some level of austerity, then you realize all the things that you thought you needed, but you really don't need. It's an interesting exercise. You should try it. Try it for 30 days. You want to change your life. Stop drinking. Stop doing the lectins. Stop doing gluten for 30 days. You might lose your mind in the first 10 days, and I've seen people do that because there's opioids in the gluten, and that's a given. So you have to go through an opioid crisis by giving up gluten. Because most people, all they want is, give me a cracker, give me a cracker, give me a cracker, right? It's the opioids, man. Your body's craving the opioids. That's what it is. You got hooked on that shit. But if you get past the first 12 days, you do 30 days, man, your life's going to change. Eat clean food. For me, I eat protein. That's the way it is. Animal protein. And I don't have any illusions about it. I live right down the street from like a place. It's not a stockyard, but they sell animals going to slaughter. I hear them all the fucking time. So I don't have any illusions about the process. Trust me. I hear them at night all the time. They're mooing. They're mooing because they're going places. My boyfriend and I are doing dry August. He's doing some dry fasting. Let us know how that goes. Look at Laurel. Good for you, Laurel. No fries for me either. No alcohol since last year. High fives to Laurel. Good for you. Potatoes are nightshade. They're part of what? The lectin family. That's right. Yep. What else do we have? I'm weird about eggs. Must be scrambled or no whites for me. But you would have cucumber in your eggs, I bet. Meat and veg, a few fruits, I guess. I don't even eat fruits anymore. The only fruit I eat is an apple. That's it. Just apples. Just apples. That's it. That's my only fruit. Fruit has too much sugar. I have the occasional blueberry in a smoothie, but coconut is really good. I'm into coconut. I agree with you. Every meat eater ought to slaughter a skinned gut at least once. I agree with you, Joe. Totally agree with you. And maybe I'll do that. Maybe I would do that. Absolutely. I think that we should subscribe to the actual practice of doing that. I agree with that. It would be difficult. You got to stare that thing in the face, but you got, that's the way it is, right? That's the way it is. Game Changer is a great documentary about super athletes and being vegan. I hope we're not going to get into the vegan propaganda. I hope we're not doing that. That's a debate that I don't want to have to take a flamethrower to. I can't tolerate processed tomatoes, but fresh tomatoes and salsa is fine. I'm on the other end of that thing. I'm on the other end of that. Here we go. This is interesting. I don't like tomatoes either. I can't stand fresh tomatoes. Now you're getting into the head of a Virgo, the weird head of a Virgo. But I like ketchup, and I know it's a theoretical nightshade, right? I don't really eat salsa because I don't go to Mexican restaurants anymore because I don't eat refried beans, which I love. So yeah, but I'm on the other end of that. If I have marinara sauce on anything, which I really don't, I need to be really thin. I don't want any chunk in the funk. That's why I stopped eating meat. Watch factory farming video. Yeah, man, it's not good. You get into that world, it's brutal. I did a bike ride the other night, and I stopped by the place where they're, selling the animals, and and there's a little goat there, little tiny goat in a pen with other goats, bleeding at me, asking to be let out of the fucking pen. And I sat there with that goat for about 5 minutes, just kind of, wrapping my head around the consciousness of this animal. And I did it. I don't want to run away from it, right? I wanted to look at it and try to understand what the reality for that little creature was. And I'm still going to eat meat. Okay. And it's not that I had to sit there and say, wow, man, this is really hitting me. I'm watching this little tiny goat separate out and stare at me through that barred cage and ask, please let me the fuck out of here. Right? That's what I was getting. I should have just bought the goat. I should have just walked in and, hey, how much is this goat? I want this goat. And maybe I'll do that one of these days. Maybe I'll do that. I started my rabbitry, but have yet to dispatch a bunny. That's an interesting side business you got there, Christine. Very interesting side business. Let me know how that goes. All right, from there, into the rabbit hole, out of the rabbit hole, and back. Thank you for being here. Use your head to discern what's real, your heart to say what's possible. If you can, if you want to support the show, I'll have links here. Jumping in today, readings, all the stuff that emails. This is my day to go do that. Coming back at you. Tomorrow, we're going to try something different. Tomorrow, I'm going to try to set up the ability for you to call in. Okay, we're going to try this tomorrow. I don't want to try it today, but we're going to try this tomorrow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can link up the call system. We'll see. We're going to see how that goes. And I'll take a couple calls tomorrow. Let's see if we can make this happen. We'll open up another avenue and send you to the show. All right, use your head in order to discern what's real, your heart to say what's possible. Stay on your toes, head on a swivel, heart wide open. I'm Robert Phoenix. I'll be back tomorrow. Bye for now.